Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So we left off on the Dana 60 build. Last time we got the carrier out, took the outers apart and everything. Today we're gonna make some setup bearings out of the old bearings, but first I gotta go get a 1 5/16 socket so that I can get the pinion out. So, road trip.
Kind of wondering what the hell they're building right there. Quite the building.
Can't go to Farm and Fleet without getting the old yogurt raisins. These things are awesome. So getting carrier bearings off isn't super easy just because of the nature of it. Sometimes you can cut them off or whatever, but I got a secret weapon. So this company Vevor reached out to me and they're like, hey, we have all these tools and we want you to test them out and tell us what you think. What do you want? And so I was looking at their site and I saw they had one of these awesome clamshell bearing pullers. So we're gonna test it out today, use it, see how it works, and make some setup bearings. So this puller comes with this pretty cool stand so you can just have it all stacked up. So it comes with 3 sets of clamshells and each one has 2 different sizes on it, as you can see. So I believe we need the black one for this carrier. This one's the Big Mama.
Not in Big Mama's house.
It has its own separate retainer ring because it's too big for this one. This one fits the orange and the black one. So this is the tool itself. It's pretty stout. It feels like it's 10 pounds by itself, and it's hollow, so the end of this screw right here comes down through and pushes on it. So it's actually meant for your pinion, and your pinion goes up inside of it, and that's how it pushes on it. So when you want to use it for a carrier, it comes with this little guy with different sizes. So you just drop it down in there, and then this goes over it, and the screw pushes on that to get its force. So the way that you set this up is you just look for which clamshell tucks in under here nicely all the way without being super loose. In this case, it's the big side on the black one. And you also want to make sure that you leave your race on here when you do this. So I've got this bottom one adjusted almost all the way down so that it just rests right on the race like that. So then from there, you slide these in under the bearing like so, but you see how it's loose? So you take this one and you just, again, if it's not touching the race, you adjust that one down till it is, and then you adjust this one up till it's just snug. We got a ways to go here till it's snug with this. And I don't know if you can see it, but these rings have a taper on them, and the inside of these also have a taper that matches it. So we're going to go ahead and set our other side on there, get it nice and seated, drop the retainer over it, and then you snug this screw down. You do not have to tighten this, you just snug it down. And then from there, you just run this screw down until it touches that little stub piece on the inside. I don't know what the name of it is. So now it's all snugged up. You can see it just spins with the carrier. And now we're just going to hang on to it and run this in. I'm going to spray a little. It comes like pre-oiled, but never hurts to spray a little more on there. We're just going to run this down and it should pull this bearing right off of here without damaging it. Oh, there went my shim stack, went flying, and there that is. Took no damage. Looks like we had 1, 2, 3 shims on this side. So I'm going to set these aside, and we'll go ahead and do the other side. Man, this thing's gross. That shouldn't have been that easy to come off of there. I didn't even get a single ugga or a single dug out of that. And I guess the cool part about this, if you don't have setup bearings and you got to keep taking these on and off, you got a pretty good chance of not roaching out your bearings. So this side has 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So So before I start measuring these and everything, let's run over there and knock that pinion out, and then we can use the tool on that too. So I think before I pop this pinion out of here, I want to just see what kind of preload it has right now. I'm just kind of curious because it feels really loose to me. Like, it just doesn't feel like it has any resistance. So luckily I've got the inch-pound beam torque wrench hooked up to a few adapters here, and we're just going to see if it gives us any kind of a reading. Honestly, best I can tell, that thing isn't even coming off a 0, maybe 2 or 3 at most. I don't know the exact spec on this, but usually it's somewhere between like 15 and 30 inch-pounds of rolling resistance, so this thing's definitely a little looser than it should be. So I'll have to keep that in mind when I measure that preload stack, that it might need a little more. Wow, that came out easy. So I do have this kind of brass or copper hammer or whatever, since I am reusing this and I don't want to ruin it. But just to be on the safe side, I picked up some brass drifts and punches. I've been honestly needing these forever, so let's see, does that point fit in there? Not really, but look at that. I'm not going to need it. This thing's just going to push right out by hand. So these are the preload shims. I gotta see if any more of them fell out, because that one almost fell out. Nope, not that I can see. Pop our seal out. Dang. So there's our outer bearing. Seems like it's in good shape. I'm replacing it anyway. Didn't look like this stuff was too old as I took the whole thing apart. And our race will probably have to get driven out of there. You can see that nice oil passage. So now this thing's actually ready to get it outside and get it cleaned up. But we're not doing that tonight. The depth shims aren't by that bearing. They're actually under this inner race right here. So we're going to drive that out, and then we're going to grind the outside of it and make it like a setup race, kind of like the setup bearings we're going to make. There's that one too. Okay, so none of the shims stuck to that race. So what we'll do is we'll grind this outside edge down so that it's like a slip fit in the axle, in case we have to pull it in and out a bunch of times to check our shims. I do believe that's it right there, which appears to be 3. So fun fact right here, when you saw when I did that second side, how it came off really easy and the impact didn't even impact. So this was the first side we did. And look at this side, you can see that they took a punch and peened it a bunch of times to try to get the bearing to stay on there better. So what that means is that this thing's seen some damage. It may have even spun it at some point in its life. Not surprised. So hopefully our ox carrier doesn't have that problem. Alright, so this one seems to fit pretty good with the orange one on the bigger side. So go ahead and get our race in there. Probably going to have to adjust this. So right now the bottom of this pipe is actually hitting, so I'm going to try to screw this down until it touches the race. Get this guy in there. This was up too high. There we go. I'll run it back up till it touches. And there it is. Tell you what, this thing sure makes this easy. And there's that, so if you needed to reuse it, perfect shape, nothing wrong with it. So huge thank you to Vevor for sending me out that bearing puller. I'm going to put some links down in the description below to their stuff, to their website, to this bearing puller, and maybe some other stuff. My question for you is, if they want to send me more stuff, what tool do you want to see? I'll put it through its paces. I'll tell you how it is. If I think it's a piece of crap, I'll tell you it's a piece of crap. So far with this bearing puller, it is very much not a piece of crap. That thing was a lifesaver. Here's our little oil slinger / oil dam, whatever you want to call it. It's not too chewed up, but we're definitely going to clean it up some. It is interesting that there is a shim in there, because I didn't think there was supposed to be, because the shims go under the race on this one. The good news is my friend, he happens to be a gear setup guy at a powertrain place, and he does gears on the side, and he's into off-road trucks, mostly mud racing trucks, but nevertheless, he's only a text message away, and I can ask him, hey, why was this in here? I'm going to leave that there so I remember it. So I did talk to my buddy that does gears all the time, and I asked him why this little shim was under the slinger. That was loud. And he basically said someone got lazy, they needed to shim it, they didn't feel like pulling the race out, so they just put it there. He said it's wrong and not to put it there. I did go ahead and measure it. It's 20 thousandths. The slinger is 30 thousandths. And then the other depth shims were 3 10 thousandths shims. So I've got a total of 80 thousandths on the pinion depth. And then my preloads were 30, 12, 10, and 10. There was like no preload. It was almost free spinning, so I think it's too much. So that was 062. I'll probably baseline around 50, go from there. And then I went ahead and measured out all my carrier shims. So you can see there I had a 044 on the ring gear side, 051 on the non-ring gear side, and it had a pretty good preload. I had to pry it out of there, so I think that's a good jump off point for me to set the new ones up with. So to measure those, you can use like a normal caliper. I went ahead and picked this up on Amazon. It was cheap, and I felt like it was just a little more accurate. Plus, I've always wanted one of these anyway. So I'll leave a link to this and to really all the tools I used. There'll be like 100 links down there, okay? So these are the 3 we need for our setup. We're gonna, on these 2 bearings, we're gonna just grind out the inside of this just till they slip on here. That way we can pull them on and off as needed. And then the same with this. We're gonna do the outside of this race so that it can drop down into the axle and be removed as needed. Looks like I'm gonna need to give this thing a little bit of attention. I'm not sure if you can tell, but there is some rust down in the little valleys and stuff on here, so we're gonna give this thing a super good cleanup job. I've been chipping away at the ring gear already. There was a few spots of rust down inside of there also, so I'm gonna get a Scotch-Brite pad and get that all cleaned up. Right now we're gonna make these setup bearings, and after that I'll probably go through and just show you guys kind of what I'm doing there to get ready for this gear install. It's not really a re-gear, I'm changing to a different locker, so I have to set it all up just like it was a re-gear. This is the new aux locker carrier that we're going to be using. It's quite a bit. It's like a good 10 pounds heavier than that one at least. Time to kick that thing to the curb and get going on these. Boom. Pops right in, but it's still snug. It's still a little bit hard to get it out. Got to work it back and forth. One setup race. Check. Gotta let the compressor catch up. That thing's getting real slow. You can definitely tell this is made out of some hardened stuff because these bits normally just chew through the metal. And it's barely taking anything. I don't know if you can see like how fine the dust is coming off here, which that means it's just slow going, but that's good because that means it stays pretty even. So I've done a couple passes on here and then the compressor couldn't keep up, but I'll have a new compressor soon, so hopefully that will get better. But we're just gonna keep chipping away at this until it slides down onto the carrier. As of right now, it doesn't. It starts to go and then stops, so we want it to be able to not just fall on there, but be able to push it on there. So back to it. So the race was easy, but getting these carrier bearings, it's taking a little longer than I thought, and my crappy compressor just overheated and tripped the thermal breaker, so I'm gonna have to give that a break, and this is just gonna take a while. So I'll come back when I got them done and I'll show you
later.
So I actually found this old sanding drum that is actually for the little crappy drill press. It actually seems to be doing a better job, and we're just about there. I'm gonna hit it one more time and then I think it's gonna drop off. Boom. Man, that made that so much easier. So the second one should go a little quicker, and I'm actually going to just chuck that up in my corded drill so I don't have to keep waiting on the stupid compressor to catch up. Ooh, it's a little tight coming off though. Might need to take just a wee bit more. Alright, so we'll take a little more off it, but that's pretty much how you do it. Alright guys, that's that. Those are all made. They're all slip fit. It's ready to go. I got a lot of cleanup left to do. I got some cutting left to do. This seems like a good jumping off point, so thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. It should be soon.